You're listening to the Rotten Gems podcast.
The show where three dudes talk about movies we love.
That critics maybe thought should be permanently put to rest. In nomine patri et filii, et spiritus sancti.
Let's get rotten.
If you're still listening, whether it's on purpose or like you're just wildly surprised to see that we've managed to do 10 episodes of this thing so far with no sign of stopping, and so you popped in just to make sure that we actually did talk about these movies every other week and that we weren't just lying to our audience and playing dead air the whole time, well, we're still here. We're not going anywhere. And also, we thank you. And who exactly is we? Well, let me introduce my co-hosts.
I'm Marcus.
And I'm Keenan.
You guys can't do that. You're gonna actually. Do you know how long it takes me to when I listen to a podcast to identify whose voice belongs to who?
All right. I'm sorry. I'm Brett.
Better. All right. Yeah. Perfect.
I like to party.
Only I party. That is a reference to episode 2 of Rotten Gems. Tune in. So yeah, those are our three names somehow. What's up, guys? That's right. We've made it to episode 10. Now, I don't know about you dudes, but kind of makes me feel like river dancing. That's right. Today we are talking about the highly requested film, The Boondock Saints, starring Willem Dafoe, Patrick Flanery, and Norman Reedus. Now, for those of you at home, if you haven't seen this movie, go do that right now and then report back. Okay, great, you're back. So now I don't need to give you a spoiler warning for this 1999 movie, this 21-year-old movie, this movie that is old enough to buy a drink. Glad we're past that. So, Keenan, Marcus, you guys have seen this movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for it.
I was
this
waiting
time.
to see if Keenan had some secret joke he didn't tell me about.
Wait, we've been doing jokes for this part?
Every time when I say that line, I'm like, all right, let's see what our bullshit they got this time.
We've done 10 episodes of these, and I think we're going to be running out of jokes pretty fast, guys.
We've seen the movie.
Okay, cool. Can you just imagine? You're like, no, I haven't, and that's just the end of the episode.
It'll probably happen with one of the movies I haven't seen already, and I just can't bring myself to watch it. And I'll just sit back and listen to you guys for a while.
Yeah, because so far, all 10 of these, all three of us have seen. Now, we have movies on our list that, two of us have seen, one of us have seen. So I'm sure it's bound to be a different story when we get to one of those.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too, like, and I was like, okay, let me just jump ahead real quick. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I enjoy this movie. It's a good movie. But it was so hard for me to make some time to watch this movie. I just felt like I was forcing myself to watch this movie. And then once I did, I enjoyed it. So I don't know why I was fighting it so much.
I literally finished this movie like 5 minutes before we had to record.
Sweet. Maybe I don't know, like, if that has anything to do with the movie or if it's just COVID's America. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like less motivation to do anything this year than like previous years. So
I think for me, yeah, I think the Thanksgiving break really put a damper on it, just because I was interested in other things, and then also it's not really a kid friendly movie, so I couldn't watch it with the kids, so I had to watch it with like on my iPad.
I mean, bold choice not introducing your kids of single digit age to the Boondock Saints.
I think they're ready.
I mean, you gotta just push the bird out of the nest, Marcus.
If I want to train them to be, saints, then I better start soon.
I think you also better go back and then become Irish.
I'm just gonna be Catholic.
Okay, that works. So, a little synopsis of this movie for those needing a refresher. Here we go. It says, tired of crime overrunning the streets of Boston, Irish Catholic twin brothers Connor, Sean Patrick Flanery, and Murphy, Norman Reedus, are inspired by their faith to cleanse their hometown of evil with their own brand of zealous vigilante justice. As they hunt down and kill one notorious gangster after another, they become controversial folk heroes in the community. But Paul Smecker, Willem Dafoe, an eccentric FBI agent, is fast closing in on their blood-soaked trail. Yeah, that's pretty great and pretty all-encompassing. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Oh, they nailed it.
Nailed it. I don't know about you guys, but this probably has to be one of, if not my favorite Willem Dafoe roles of all time.
I don't know, Green Goblin.
Well, that's because neither one of you have watched The Life Aquatic.
I thought you were going to say The Lighthouse, and I was going to say, yes, I have.
But I don't count that one because I haven't seen that one. Life Aquatic, watch it. It's a good movie.
Watched that one. Isn't that on our list? I'm pretty sure
It
that's on our list.
is.
And you're the only one who's seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's high priority on there. So let's talk about scoring, guys. First, how did you guys rate this movie? Let's say on your first viewing that you can recall, and then has that rating changed today?
For me, I think I watched this probably later in like my high school days, and I absolutely loved this movie. If I had to rate it, it would probably be 8 out of 10 or 80%. Watching this again tonight, I bumped that up to over 90%. This movie is amazing. Willem Dafoe in this movie, just spectacular. Like every scene he's in gets you.
Yeah, I don't remember when I watched it the first time. I probably like in high school. That's probably pretty accurate. I was surprised when I was watching it earlier today that I was gonna enjoy it as much as I did. So I don't know. I know we like to jump around in our ratings, so I'll give it a 56 out of 62.
What?
He gives
Perfect.
it
5 out of 7.
4 turkeys out of 8 wombats.
I was like, dang, 56? That's really low. Out of 62? What? Okay.
I have no idea what percentage that is, so
that's pretty high.
we'll just go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I again, I don't know when I watched this for the first time, but I remember when I was like 15, this was my favorite movie of all time, and it stuck that way for years. I think Pulp Fiction was the one that took that out of my favorite movie, but like it didn't take much to please teenage me in terms of movies. Guns, cool.
Gross.
Action, cool. Humor, cool. Gross, Keenan. Gross. But yes, you're not wrong. But to like, I was 17 years old when I got my first tattoo, and then I was
That's
18.
illegal.
My mom signed the paper. And then I was 18 when I got my second tattoo, which is on my leg, and it is an anagram of the words Veritas and Equatus from this film. So I remember when people would ask me what it is, and like I'd be like, oh yeah, if you look at the word this way, it says Veritas. And then if I flip it upside down, I'm like, oh, this way it says Equatus. And they're like, what's that mean? And I'd be like, oh, one says truth and one says justice. Like I wouldn't tell people that it was from the movie just because I felt like I would be like really judged, which rightfully so. But for those people that knew what it was from, everyone's like, oh, that's awesome, hell yeah.
It's a
like,
palomino.
Arizona spelled backwards is Arizona. What was that? Community?
Yeah.
I love that. Chang, right? Looking at the matchbooks. Oh, I love that.
She just continued to stare at me.
Uh, Man, I want to watch Community again. That was so great. Um, but yeah, like I don't regret the tattoo, and I got my car in like 2013, 2014, and I have a Boondock Saints sticker on the car still. So this this movie again, it was like a 10 out of 10 for me initially. Watching it again, I still really enjoyed it, but I don't know if like my taste has changed a little bit, or do you know how like you can have like a favorite song and then you just listen to it so much that you just don't want to hear it anymore?
Yeah, I listened to Hit Me Baby One More Time a shit ton growing up.
Yeah,
Well, to be
toxic
fair,
for me.
she kept telling you to listen to it again one more time.
But I mean, in that same regard, like I'm like, oh, okay, this movie again. Like I could probably quote this movie word for word. So, all right,
Do it.
I,
Roll
Do
me.
it.
all right. Well, it starts off with credits, right? Um, but yeah, again, I still really enjoy it. There's things now that 21 years later after the movie was made that I'm like, I don't know if that's like it makes me uncomfortable a little bit, and we'll
So,
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
there
that.
were plenty of moments that made me feel
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
what you're saying though is you're gonna rate it a 56 out of 62.
yeah. I would say it was 62 out of 62, and now I'm down to maybe 56 out of 62.
I knew it.
Yeah, perfect 5 out of 7. Yeah.
I am confused.
But anyway, enough about our ratings. Let's see what other people have rated this movie, which is why we're talking about this today. This movie got a whopping 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 91% audience score, which I think is the biggest difference we've had so far.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I was gonna say. I this movie and probably I mean I don't know if I don't think Hocus Pocus had much of a as big of a difference gap in between, but this is huge.
oh yeah, and we'll get into why this potential gap I think has happened here.
I think critics need to make like a tree and get the fuck out of here.
So yeah, so 28 Rotten Tomatoes, 91% audience score, and that is a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. That is 7.8 pieces of symbology, 7.8 people in glass houses sinking their ships, or 7.8 things you need this stupid fucking rope for out of 10. And what's funny is, of the IMDb reviews, that was out of 225,000 reviews. I've never seen a movie reviewed that much, or maybe I haven't. I just haven't been paying attention. But this movie has a huge cult following for sure.
Yeah, it really shocked me when I saw the difference. I and I get it. Like you were saying before, like I mean, no, you know what? I don't get it. I don't get why the critics don't like this movie.
Those are the options.
I
Either you get
changed
it
my
or you
mind.
don't.
I mean, as I was going through like a lot of the reviews, I noticed a lot of them weren't like from the early 2000s even. It was mostly late 2000s, 2011. So I can see from maybe that point of view
Yeah.
critically why they were giving it that, but
Well,
it doesn't make sense
that's
to
a
me.
good point. I want to tell you guys why I think maybe critics don't like this that much. It's because when this movie was initially supposed to be released, they actually ended up giving it like a very limited theater release, and it only went to 5 theaters. That's it, only 5, and it was just because right around that same time, a little thing called Columbine happened, and so I guess like movie studios and whatnot thought, hey, maybe let's not have a movie about two
Shooting
guys going around shooting and
village.
killing everybody based on an ideology that they created. So I'm gonna assume like that's why this movie didn't do so well in the theaters, and it wasn't until it went to like DVD and stuff, it got a huge like following based on the DVD releases. So the only thing I can think of is like what King was saying. Like I look at all the reviews and I think it's just critics being like not wanting to like it, because if they like it, then they're maybe sympathizing for murder. I don't know.
Mass shootings.
Yeah.
It's like,
So uh, again, I don't know like what makes a critic decide to go outside and then trash a movie that someone spent a long ass time making, but that's just me.
I assume they just roll like a d20 and whatever it lands on is what they rate it.
Yeah, they're
it's Mad Libs.
What's the number you'd have to roll to rate a movie 56 out of 62?
A nice 17.
Nice. Every time I roll a 17 now, I'm gonna think of you, Marcus. Natural 17. But let's go through and let's talk about this movie, shall we, fellas? I want to talk about like one of the very first scenes in the movie. So obviously, like the credits are opening credits are rolling and it's doing like the little montages and whatnot. But then like when the credits are done and it shows the two of them in church. So like they're just sitting there in church, and then like the little girl's looking at them, and then the mom's like, "Oh, don't stare, don't stare." And I didn't pay any mind to this when I first watched it, but now like watching it this time and this time only, they like get up and then they walk to the front of the church while the pastor's talking. They just walk right past him. They go up and pray and kiss the feet of the Jesus statue. And then like only one guy is like, "Hey guys, what the fuck are you doing?" Like just getting up in the middle of the church and doing your own thing like that. If I was in that room, I would have like such secondhand embarrassment. Like guys, sit down.
I thought that too. I was like, I don't think I ever caught that before. I thought it was pretty weird. But I mean, the other guy whispered in his ear and
Yeah,
said something to be like, "Hey, we don't mess with those guys."
On this
yeah,
watch, I thought it was like after they had already killed somebody, and this was like flashing like forward.
But it's not.
It's not.
Right? So
right.
that's what's weird too. It's like, why don't they mess with them? They're nobody, right? I mean,
To
I'm
this point,
sure
yeah.
I'm sure they know them in the community, but it's not like they're not killers yet.
Right, and they've seen them a lot because they go to church. But you know who else they've seen a lot? Everybody else in the church. So, like, if anybody got up and walked to the front, would they just be like, "Oh yeah, it's cool"? They did mention though that the guy who looked concerned, he was like a guest pastor or something.
All the way from across town.
Yeah, and so I guess that would
Which is
that
like
would
10 minutes
explain.
away.
Yeah, that would explain his confusion as to why it's okay to just walk up on stage at church. Is that stage? I don't know.
Don't worry, we got pretty laid back rules here.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
I figured, so my thinking is that anything I don't have an answer for, I'm just gonna leave up to the fact that it's an Irish community in Boston. I'm as far away from Irish Boston community as you can get.
Irish Boston Catholic.
Yeah, I'm pretty far away from that.
Yeah, I guess reason and can't explain everything. But that happened, and I was like, okay, well, I'm watching this under a different lens now. And I also got to thinking, I'm like, so they're filming in a church. Like, is this a real church? And like, do they have to use a church? And I'm like, did the church know that this was the plot of their movie? And so I looked it up, and I found this. It says the church where Connor and Murphy attend Mass, Church of the Covenant, is actually not a Catholic church, but a Lutheran one. No Catholic churches in the area would allow filming in their sanctuaries due to objections to the plot of the movie.
But why? I don't see anything wrong in this movie.
So to me, what's funny is not the Catholic Church being like, no, you can't film this murder movie in our church, but the Lutheran one,
church,
yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, go ahead, man.
Hell yeah, bud,
This
Hell
is
yeah,
badass. Kill
we'll
all the
be in
bad
your murder
guys.
movie. Yeah.
How much money did you say you're gonna give us? Oh,
Oh,
no, yeah, you can fill me up.
yeah. No, you're welcome. And like, did they let them destroy the confession booth?
I
Like,
doubt that.
They
like later
probably
on?
That had to be
they probably
probably
don't have
illegal.
confession
Yeah.
booth in Lutheran church. I
Now,
think
Probably
that's
didn't
only a
research this.
Catholic thing.
you're right. Now we've all established that we're not Catholic. So this is a question for either of you. But why is the confession booth have 3 doors? Like the pastor was in the middle in the later scene, right? So and then they have like not a customer is not the word.
Patient?
Sinner, yeah, a customer. uh, they have a customer on both sides of the pastor. So is he like dealing with 2 problems at once? Is multitasking pastor a profession?
Hang on, let me put you on hold. Tell me
Yeah.
your sins.
Yes. Do you think he like tries to find ways to answer both of their problems at the same time?
Hang on, I'm going to conference you into this other guy over here.
Yeah.
He was cheating on his wife too.
You guys should be friends. Don't step out of this booth at the same time because we don't want you guys to reveal.
We don't want awkward eye contact.
Right, because the person clearly, like the person in the third booth can clearly hear what's going on in the first booth. So, I don't know. I don't know if that was just invented for the movie and for that one scene or if that's how confession booths actually are, but it does seem odd to me.
I think it's how they actually are, and I think it's mainly for like being able to wait your turn kind of thing. So you can be in there and then you'll just wait for the priest. Again, we are not very
Manager.
religious.
The
I was
manager.
I was baptized Catholic, and that is where my Catholicism knowledge ends.
But don't Catholics baptize when you're a baby?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So,
I
okay.
was,
So your
I was
knowledge
a
ends.
baby.
Got it. Again, we're not trying to make fun of religion here. Like we're just trying to understand.
I might a little bit.
Okay, well Keenan is. Take care of your problems with him. That is Keenan spelled Keenan. Write us. But yeah, so progressing through the movie, we have the bar scene with the fight, and then the first Paul Smecker crime scene. I guess discoveries and what he does, and no matter how many times I see it, him just ragging on Greenlee every time he gets something wrong was still hilarious to me. Every time.
But seriously, dude, how is that guy a cop? Like, was he a detective? Because if he is, fire that dude.
He is listed as Detective Greenlee.
No joke. Fire that dude. I know he got one right at the end with the same guy with
Maybe
6
it was
guns,
one guy with 6 guns.
but he miscounted bodies. Dude, you had one job.
How many bodies? 8.
I
No.
forgot about that one. You mean to tell me, guys, though, that it was one guy with 6 guns and he was a senior freaking citizen?
A freaking huge guy. Oh, I did want to say before we get too far back to the credits. This was the first time that I noticed that the guy playing Rocco was just playing himself. His actor's name is David Della Rocco.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because the writer Troy Duffy, he was just a bartender, and like he just wrote this movie in between, like on his breaks at working at this bar, and then he sold it, and he wrote the role of Rocco for his friend David Della Rocco based on him. And so when this movie was picked up, like part of the contract for him was that the movie studio would buy the bar that he worked at to give to him. So he got the bar that he was working at as part of the deal for this movie. Kind of sucked though because he didn't get. So again, Columbine happened, and this movie did not really do well in
Bomb.
theaters, right? And the way his contract was written is he didn't get any royalties from the DVD release. So he
Oh, that
basically, yeah,
sucks.
he basically made no movie on this, or no money on this movie, and then he ended up having to go to court a few years later and sue for the rights to the movie back, as well as the rights to make a sequel, which he eventually won, and the sequel then was made, but like 10 years later because it took so long.
Have you guys seen the sequel?
I did. I do own it, and obviously it's not as good, but
Yeah, I
I
think I
was gonna
watched it
say, do you
once
like
and
it? But I could tell.
no.
I did still like it, but all they really did with this movie is like Control C, Control V, and
Oh, can you translate
obviously
that?
that is human speak for they did a lot of the same things, but obviously
Is
like
that human speak?
I think we just found
I'm a
out that
human.
Brett is a robot.
I'm a human, am I not? Can't you tell by my red blood and white skin? Um, but anyway, so that the movie was like the second one was like obviously Rocco dies in this movie, so they had to like put in a character to replace him, and he does literally just he's there for the comic relief and to be exactly what Rocco is. And then they have Julie Benz play Smecker, who like she was fine, but obviously you can't. Again, we all have discussed that Willem Dafoe was great in this movie, so I don't know. That was kind of a bold choice, but not nearly as good. I still enjoyed it, but all
Is
of
it
that just
is it worth watching?
it's worth watching. I would say, like I own it. When I watched it, like, do you know like when you go see a movie and you already know that you want to love it so much, so like you, regardless of if it's awful, you love it so much. Like, kind of. Let me put this in a way that you guys can understand. So like sports, right? You might love a team so much, and you know they're awful.
So what you're saying is every sports team I follow
It's up to
is
you.
Boondock Saints too.
Hmm.
That
So
sounds about right. I
I
get
don't
it.
know. Like I really loved it at first, and then like after it wore off, and I'm like, okay, well, like I don't have to like this movie. I'm like, all right, it wasn't as good, but
All right. Well, I was just wondering because I never saw it. I never had any urge to see it, and I probably will never see it.
there was definitely some good lines in it for sure. Like totally worth watching. They actually set it up to do a third movie too, and I was reading for years that they were going to do a third movie, but something I don't know what's going on with that. But then later I was reading that they were going to, instead of doing a third movie, do a TV show. But then again, I don't know what happened with that, so I have no idea what the state of the Boondock Saints universe is right now. It just seems to me like it's one guy who had a good idea and he's trying to milk that idea for all it's worth. So
I don't blame him.
I don't know.
But yeah, so another thing when we were talking about Willem Dafoe's character, uh, when he's like first checking out that crime scene, and I thought it was so weird that he had two gloves in that little leather case on his belt. Do you guys think he like loads that up every time?
Like he only just grabs two and puts
Two
them in there.
gloves,
Are they
puts them in his little
rewashable? Is that his like special pair?
yeah.
What if they rip? Does he have another, like he has to go back to the box, or I don't know.
Yeah, he's got to go back home, get two more, load it back into his belt.
But it's funny because like part of me thinks that he doesn't really care about hygiene all that much because later
Yeah.
yeah.
God.
Later, and I laughed really hard at the scene. So they're at the crime scene. It's the second killing of the Saints in the well. Is it the is it the it's the
Yeah.
Yeah,
well?
because
Okay, we're counting the alley as the first one,
Yep.
which wasn't really on purpose, but the first purposeful slaying when they go and accidentally kill all of the people with the rope. And they're in the blood-soaked room, and Smecker touches all the blood, and then like
And he
puts
points
his
to his
bloody gloves.
head.
And you can see like the visible disgust on the detective's face. I love that scene.
Well, what you don't know is blood is actually really good, like hair product. It holds all day.
Hey Keenan, are you okay, man?
It
Like,
doesn't wash out either, ever.
Whose blood have you been using?
It never washes out.
Oh gosh.
But speaking of Smecker, it was funny when I was like looking up some interesting things about this movie. There on IMDb they have like a FAQ section, like like frequently asked questions, and the number one FAQ on the Boondock Saints is Paul Smecker gay?
No, of course not, man.
What was your first clue?
I loved how every time he, like, put his hand on somebody's shoulder or something, the other cops, and they're just like nudging each other.
Yeah, yeah. So like again, this going back to what we said earlier about things like kind of making us uncomfortable in this movie. Obviously, there's like a lot of jokes and slurs and stuff in this movie that like 15-year-old me that didn't understand anything was like, oh yeah, that's hilarious. But like adult me is like, hey, maybe that's not cool. And a lot of it was Smecker himself, Um, like Smecker and Rocco telling his jokes and whatnot. Like, I don't know, those scenes, like the uncomfortability of them is kind of what made me be like, I don't know if I like this movie as much as I did. I'm gonna have to drop my rating down to like 56 out of 62 or something.
Yeah, I put that as like I put that as a showing of the times of when it was made.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, you would think 20 years isn't that long ago, but honestly, it is. Obviously, look at his Walkman.
No, it was a CD player.
Yeah, his hopefully uh, skip-free CD player since
Yeah,
it's moved around so much.
I was impressed that it didn't skip a single time while he was dancing around
Yeah.
the crime scene.
And then on top of that, again, Boston, Irish, hardworking, blue collar town, what it's supposed to be, which I have no experience of living in, so I don't know what that's like. All my
Yeah.
knowledge comes from this movie and The Departed.
I was gonna say I would love to have seen a Departed Boondock Saints crossover movie. I read that Mark Wahlberg was actually supposed to play one of the brothers, or that he was being looked at as one of them, but he was doing Boogie Nights instead, so he couldn't do
Thank
this one.
God. Like, seriously, you couldn't cast anybody else in that role.
Yeah, for sure.
Any role in this, like, they nailed it.
Oh, definitely. Another thing is that they were actually looking at Ewan McGregor as one of the brothers.
Oh, never mind.
Could they have made Ewan McGregor both of the brothers? Because then that would have been perfect.
One just with a beard and one without.
Oh,
didn't they do that in the Fargo show? Didn't he play two guys?
I think it was just called Fargo, but
no, I'm saying, didn't he play two guys in Fargo?
Oh yeah, show? I've seen Fargo, but not the Fargo show.
You didn't know they made a show of it?
Never mind. I'm making a joke about what you called it.
I know. Well, because there's a difference between the show and the movie. Have you never heard of the movie?
I watched season 1, but I never watched any of the other ones.
I'm gonna become combative because I'm a little tipsy on my Coke and whiskey.
I thought you were gonna say I'm tipsy on my Coke, and I'm like, they haven't put cocaine in that in years, bud.
They haven't, but I have.
He had to get in his role for this. Don't ask about what he did to his cat.
He's a method podcaster. The Christian Bale of podcasts.
He yelled at us before about the lighting in here.
Don't worry, guys. It's Irish whiskey.
There you go. That's better. No, but Ewan McGregor was supposed to he was in talks with Troy Duffy to play one of the brothers, and then they like went out one night, Troy Duffy and Ewan McGregor, and like they were, I don't know, I don't know if they went to a bar or whatever, but they got drunk, and Troy Duffy like started like spewing his view on like the death penalty and stuff, and Ewan McGregor didn't like it, so he dropped out.
Oh man, I hate this fucking movie. I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. Like oh, and Keanu Reeves was supposed to play one, and he called him. Troy Duffy called Keanu Reeves, quote, a fucking punk, which
Whoa, hey, we don't
which
talk about
I
Keanu.
mean, I consider punk a term of endearment.
that's what I'm saying, right? So like
A breath.
at this point, at this point, I am 100% anti Troy Duffy because like. Okay, like I could say like, okay, yeah, you made this movie, you're cool, but the moment you diss Keanu, like I'm jumping ship, you know. Like
now I get these ratings.
let me ask you, let me ask you guys, you sports guys, you're loyal to a team, right? But is there any team in which if one player jumps to an enemy team that you're not loyal to that team anymore, or is it just the idea of a team?
So I'm loyal to Arizona teams, except for U of A, of course. And
they're a bunch of ball bitches.
but no, I mean there's players you like. So I would, let's say, God forbid, Larry Fitzgerald would ever leave the Cardinals. He wouldn't. But if he did, I would still root for Larry Fitzgerald and the Arizona Cardinals.
Even
That's
if he
fair.
went to the Seahawks, man. Oh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I would root for Larry Fitzgerald to lose every game, but to get 100 yards every game, 2 touchdowns.
Okay, well you lost me when you like went into further sports talk. The only sports I have to compare it to is I used to watch wrestling, and
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I love the Hardy Boys, you know, Matt and Jeff Hardy. But if the tag team, the Hardy Boys, eventually evolved and then added other people, and then the Hardy Boys eventually left, and now I'm just cheering on the brand, the Hardy Boys, that didn't have the Hardy Boys in it, I don't know that I'd be a fan.
Well, okay, so in that scenario, I think the better one would be like uh, NWO or
The Bullet Club.
DX.
That's true.
Because at least, I mean, the Hardy Boys is kind of hard to get rid of the actual Hardy Boys and
Could
still
you-
call them the Hardy Boys.
Could you imagine it's just the Hardy Boys, but it's just Kane and Undertaker? Yeah, now you know what it's like when you guys talk about sports.
All right, now you guys talk about something that I don't get.
So Keaton, Bionicles, right?
Dude. All right. No, seriously. We are shifting to a Bionicles podcast. Those
Hell yeah.
were the shit. They were
Oh, yeah.
Legos that bent.
Which is what I want all my Legos to do, because Bionicles didn't hurt as much to step on.
Whoa. I forgot about those.
This is great. Did we just invent a new rock, paper, scissors?
Bionicles, sports, wrestling.
What beats what?
They all lose.
True. Hey guys, we're funny. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, Boondock Saints.
Which I think we are like 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. Did you guys notice? I don't think I noticed this ever, because again, I haven't watched this movie in, I don't know, probably, I want to say like 5 years or so. Ron Jeremy was the guy, what's his name?
I noted that
Vincenzo.
because right when his face showed up, I was just like, oh, just shivered down my spine.
I always forget. Like, I knew he was in the movie when I watched it last time or whatever, but like I always forget when I watch it that he's in it, and it's always an unpleasant surprise.
Are we going to use him for our 6 degrees of who? He's been in plenty of movies.
I don't know them by name.
How was he ever successful? He is
can't-
not a good-looking guy.
I can't tell you the names of movies he's been in, but I can't tell you the names of porn stars he's been in.
Oh,
But yeah, like I don't know why I never realized it before. Maybe because of innocence, or just like you guys said, he's not good to look at. So
you instantly forget it.
yeah, like oh yeah,
You
that's
don't
what that guy
forget
looks
it,
like.
you block it out.
Yeah, forced yourself.
So that was funny, and it was lovely to see him die. Like not I don't wish like for him to die in person. I don't. Did you guys? Okay, whenever I think of Ron Jeremy now, the first thought I had isn't porn star, but years ago, remember when remember when Harmontown was a a
Oh, I thought you were going to go a different route. I was like, if you say the surreal life, we
Oh
are
no!
on the same wavelength.
All I think of when I think of Ron Jeremy now is years ago when I listened to Harmontown. Jeff Davis told a story about how he was at some event or something. I don't know if it was a bar or what, but Ron Jeremy was there, and he was walking around with a banana peel on his shoulder, like
Yep.
inexplicably and he walked up to him, and he's like, "What's that about?" And then Ron Jeremy just like scoffed at him and walked away, and he was like, what the hell?" And like he came on and he told that story, and everyone's like, what the hell? So like everyone like bombarded him like on Twitter and whatever ways they contact him, and they're like, hey, what's this banana peel? Tell the story. What happened? And so then Ron Jeremy responded some way, and the joke is that Ron Jeremy would walk around, and he does this often. He puts a banana peel on his shoulder, and he'll walk around, and the hopes is that a girl will ask him about it, and then his punchline is, yeah, it just makes me more appealing.
So
like
he
all
has
that set
the
up
same charm as attractiveness.
Exactly, all that set up for that mediocre joke. But yeah, that is the first thing I think of whenever I think of Ron Jeremy now.
And you know
Is
what's
that shitty
insane?
joke?
You know what's insane? The fact that he might not have the biggest dong on set of this movie, because apparently Willem Dafoe also has a freakishly large dong.
Is that canon? I don't know.
That is 100% canon.
Where did you hear that for?
Internet research? You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
You should really watch The Life Aquatic. It's all in there.
It's all in there. They fit his entire dong in there.
Wetsuits don't hide anything.
All right, maybe I'll watch that movie, but not for that reason.
All right, I'm sold.
I'm sold for reasons.
Oh,
other
but
than
I meant
this.
for Bill Murray, of course. Not.
Yes.
It sounds like it's a great story.
Yeah. So
What are we talking about?
Boondock Saints. So again, like there's not like anything crazy about this movie that hasn't been done before. A lot of the reviews I was reading is like, yeah, it's like a Tarantino ripoff, and in a way, I kind of agree with that. Like it feels very Tarantino. One thing that is definitely very Tarantino about this movie is the number of times they use the word fuck. 246.
I was off.
Yeah,
Was off
so
slightly.
they just missed the PG rating. So close, that much. But what the one scene where Rocco's like, "Who the fuck? What the fuck?"
And he's like, "You really figure out the diversity of the word or something."
Yeah. Also, do you think Norman Reedus knew that he would blow up to be like heartthrob Norman Reedus?
No one did, because what was he in after this? What the Blade movie? I think it was the first one, right? Blade.
Like, I can really only think of like 3 things he's been in.
The Walking
And
Dead,
even that one,
Fear
he
of
was
the
like,
Walking Dead, and the Walking Dead talk show after the
and
Walking Dead.
and Death Stranding, the video game. Yeah, and then Sean Patrick Flanery, like I hadn't seen him before, and then I remember a few years ago, I walked in like I was with my mom, and she was watching some soap opera, and he was on it. I'm like, what the hell?
Doesn't he look like way different now?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's like
Yeah, like plastic
older now.
surgery or
Like, yeah,
something.
I don't know. Like, if they did another, like, so the way the second one ends is the brothers, like, they get caught and they go to prison, right? And they look out the window at everybody in the prison yard, and they like look up, and like all of the people there like look at them all menacingly. So they basically imply that it's them versus everybody else in prison. And the new detective, Julie Benz, she actually goes to Paul Smecker for help. So Paul Smecker does have a little cameo at the end of the movie. And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get the boys out. We're gonna get them back to work." And that was how they like set it up for a third movie. Like it'd
Is
be,
it Willem Dafoe?
yeah, it's him. It's just a small little cameo at the very end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Um, so yeah, it's him. But so for years I always like, oh, they're gonna do a third one, or they're gonna do that TV show. I don't really know. Like they don't really look the same anymore. I mean,
I don't know. Norman Reedus, besides the long hair,
yeah, he can
he
cut his
really
hair.
didn't age much.
That's true. Sean Patrick Flanery though looks
I think
very
he
different.
from. I don't remember what I saw him in, but I remember seeing him and not recognizing him at all.
They also had a Rocco cameo in the second one too. He was just like
Wait, how?
a ghost, like a
Oh,
ghost or a memory talking to them or whatever.
I was like, it's gonna be
A
tough
ghost in
to
it.
bring his character back because
It
he's
was
dead.
it was like one of their dream sequences, and he was there. But like Clifton Collins Jr. though was great. You guys watched Westworld, right?
First
No.
season.
First season. Can't remember. I think he was only in the second season. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I did watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him in that too.
I he was the vegan police.
Yeah,
He was the other one,
he was.
not
He
the
was the not
Punisher.
Thomas Jane one.
Is that 2 for 2?
Yeah.
When you said Westworld, in my head, I heard West Wing. I was like, I did not watch West Wing at all.
I
Like the
too
same
mix
thing.
I too mix Clifton Collins Jr. up with Martin Sheen.
Yeah,
They just look so similar, you know.
singing Alice and Janney.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's all I've got here to talk about. Shall we take it into our next segment here?
Well, before we move on, I have a theory. You might call me crazy, but I believe this is a sequel to the John Wick trilogy.
The movies that came out later.
The Duke is John Wick.
Oh,
Say what?
Think about it. The Duke is an assassin for the mafia that takes out people in the mafia. That's all I got.
this is true. This is true. But I love your theory. I hate to have to disprove it because they do show how El Duce became El Duce in the second one.
Well,
And
the
he's
second
not
one's
very
no longer
John Wick.
canon.
I was gonna say. Oh yeah, and talking about the Duke, how old were his kids supposed to be?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because
Like, because he didn't recognize him at all.
well, I mean, they said that he was in prison for
25 years. Yeah.
yeah, 25 years, and I they don't seem to be that much older than 25.
So maybe he knocked up mom and then went to prison and doesn't really know, or
How'd they learn the prayer? How'd they learn how to shoot like him?
well, okay,
They're
so that's interesting because I did read that they filmed a deleted scene where their mother had called them on the phone. And
Oh,
I
I
don't, I
just
don't
assumed. Or I just assumed she died.
yeah, I did too until I read that. So I with the implication of them filming that scene means their mother is alive somewhere. I don't know if they cut that so they could make that tidbit. Oh, she died. I don't know, but So I would assume like they were raised by their mom, and then maybe that's how they learned. I don't know. There's so many.
We'll find out next summer in Boondock Saints 3, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Yeah, after this, I'm gonna look up like what's happening with that if they're gonna do another one. I'll watch it. Again, if you have a chance to watch the second one, I think you should watch it. It is very enjoyable. It's just definitely not as good.
Well, I already know the ending now, so.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have to watch it. It's spoiled. You spoiled it for
Ah,
everybody on this
yes.
podcast.
Ah, yes. I spoiled you on this movie that is full of twists and turns.
But one more thing before we move on that kind of bugged me was towards the end when they're caught and Willem Dafoe's character shows up to the mansion to kill people. No offense to Willem Dafoe, but he does not make a convincing or attractive lady.
So, yeah, I saw that too. I had that thought too, and I'm like, okay, this. So here's my thought process on it. Like, does this guy just like see a woman and he's like, oh yeah, like I don't care what you look like? Is he like that
She's
starved?
DTF.
Yeah, like is that all that matters? But then shortly after, he like when he pulls Willem Dafoe in, and the other guy comes along, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I haven't been laid in a week." I'm like, okay, so you have sources with which to get laid. I you get where I'm going with this? Like, like if it had been a while, like I could understand. I don't know, but
And how far was he planning on going with that bit? Like, the only reason it stopped was because his wig fell off.
yeah,
No, he was going until he discovered something.
I don't know why, but I felt like for some reason with the wig on, he looked like 10 years older than he actually was. That was the main reason I was like, I don't know. You just look like you're like a 50-year-old like
He
stripper or something.
With 5
he
o'clock
looked
shadow.
like he looked like the female gremlin from Gremlins 2.
Oh my gosh. Okay, when we post memes about this episode, we have to do a side by side. That is so perfect. I was gonna say kind of like Fatso when he was pretending to be
Yeah,
Amelia.
pretty much.
Yeah. Wow. That was a good point. All right, Marcus, you got anything else before we move on?
Let's see. I mean, not really. I would just that the I feel like that police station really should work on fixing their holy water leak that they have in that holding cell.
Yeah, it was like a
whole thing-
fountain.
This whole thing starts with a wet dream.
Not the good kind.
The holy kind.
Although it is pretty ironic that they got their idea to mass like kill everybody in a police station. I don't know why, but I still laughed at the where they're like, "Oh, we don't want to go out there. Can we stay here?" And then the cop's like, "Yeah, can they stay?" He's like, "Well, we'll have to check with your mom, but it's okay with me if your friends sleep over."
Yeah, there's so many
Oh.
quotes in this movie that like I'll say frequently, and I'm just like, where am I getting that from?
Yeah.
Oh, it's from Boondock Saints. Where are these guys going? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Fucking nowhere. Oh, Greenlee. So great. All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps this up here. It's time to go into our next segment, a little game we like to call Bed, Wed, Behead. Who you guys got?
Ugh, I don't know.
I'll go. I'll start us off, and I mean, I guess we can keep this kind of simple if we want.
Do it.
All right. So I'm gonna go with Ron Jeremy's character.
Oh God. Okay.
Vincenzo.
Okay. Then, what was the name of the mob boss?
Yakavetta.
Yeah. Papa Yakavetta.
Papa Joe Iacovetta.
Papa Joe. Yeah, I'll go with Papa Joe.
All right, I will go Il Duce.
You pick the one person that wasn't like completely terrible, so this kind of makes it a little easier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder because he did serve 25 years in prison.
Yeah, but he's got a code.
And I guess I do know a little bit more about what made him go to prison because I've seen the second one. So
There you
Was
go.
it the movie Go to Prison with Will Arnett?
let's
go to prison.
which, by the way, I love that movie. So we got Vincenzo, Iacovetta, and Il Duce.
I'm gonna let Kina go first.
All right, I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Wed the Duke. It was kind of hard. I'm gonna have to behead Ron Jeremy and bed Papa Joe. Just because I don't think I could take.
Yeah, so you don't want to bed Ron Jeremy. So I completely agree.
So I agree in theory, but I also kind of want to shake this up a bit because I would think that I would want to wed Papa Joe because he's a mafia boss, and at the very end, the reporter talks about how he's been acquitted like 3 times. He's very well he could very well provide protection and the life and the money that we want, you know. So wed for sure. He only got caught because he died at the end with the courtroom shooting. I'm gonna say bed Vincenzo because that guy's freaky, you know, and not just because it's Ron Jeremy.
No.
And kill Il Duce because I don't want him to then come and kill me for some reason later on.
I'd like to argue with you, but my mouth is filled with vomit right now.
If you're married to Il Duce, I gotta imagine it won't kill you.
Well, that's true, but then he'd be absent from my life for 25 years.
And then you're free to do whatever you want
to do, man.
I mean, I don't think marriage should be the prison that stops you from being able to do what you want to do.
Well, I mean,
no.
I feel great for your wives listening to this.
I feel like if I'm forced into a homosexual marriage when I'm not necessarily a homosexual, I feel like that's probably why my brain goes to that.
But we've taken that out of this because we know that we would pick women every time. So we've just said, all right, we're taking gender and sex out of this. So,
yeah, but that in the game itself makes the marriage a prison. You're forced to marry somebody.
This marriage is a prison. That's fair. All right, guys. On to our next game then, a little game we like to call 6 Degrees of Who. So I will pull up a random celebrity list here. And who are we going with from the movie in the meantime?
Well, I want to say there's like nobody in this movie famous besides Willem Dafoe. So I say we say Willem Dafoe.
We could do that. Willem Dafoe to
Willem Dafoe.
Okay. A random list gave me Naomi Watts. This might be a tough one.
Hey Google, who is Naomi Watts?
Did she respond?
Oh, I don't have a Google in this room.
Oh, I thought you were actually trying to figure out. Okay.
Do you know who Naomi Watts is, Keenan?
I could go with somebody else.
No, I know who she is.
No,
I could think of plenty of movies.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, I can figure a couple. Don't you worry.
Okay. All right.
Don't you worry.
So
there will be no wrenches thrown in this week.
Oh, great. All right. I love that. Willem Dafoe to Naomi Watts. Who's starting us off?
Since I picked, I'll start. And I'll go Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. With, I'll say, Kate Blanchett.
Okay. Is it me or Keenan?
You can go ahead.
All right. Dare I use our one Marvel movie?
You know what? Try not to do it.
Try not to. Okay. All right. Then I'll go another big hit. We'll go Kate Blanchett to Lord of the Rings. Take your pick with Orlando Bloom.
All right. I'm gonna go Orlando Bloom to Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp.
There we go.
Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp. All right.
If you say it 3 times and you look in the mirror,
Oh, he's here.
then Amber Heard appears in your room and punches you.
Pees on your floor or whatever she did. Okay. I'm gonna go with Sleepy Hollow with who was in Sleepy Hollow? Christina Ricci, was she in that? Pretty sure she was, right?
Yeah, Christina Ricci. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah, I'll go Christina Ricci.
Is it me or Keenan? I can't remember.
I think it's you, yeah, because you said
It's me.
Kate Blanchett.
Oh yeah, okay. Christina Ricci. All right, so we got Christina Ricci to Black Snake Moan with Samuel Jackson.
All right, Samuel L. Jackson was in.
You could end this right now, I think.
We could. Well, at least one step.
Yeah, I see one step. I don't know the direct connect.
I could end this in 2 steps. I don't know a direct connection.
Maybe not. Then yeah, maybe
I know one step in between.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Samuel L. Jackson was in Endgame with Paul Rudd.
Is that the direct step?
That was not the way I was gonna go. Nope.
Okay. Well, I'll count that as my wrench.
Mind has done it again.
And there's our Marvel movie too.
All right. Paul Rudd.
There is another way. There is another way out of this, though.
So, is Paul Rudd in a Jack Black movie? That's my way out of it. Okay. I'm going to say because you know what? Paul Rudd was in a Jack Black movie.
Mm.
He was a suck up. He suckled up to God in year 1.
Oh, you're right. You are right. All right. Just because we only know like one way out of this, I'm just gonna do it. Jack Black was in King Kong with Naomi Watts.
Yeah.
There we go.
The way I was gonna go was to The Impossible, which has Tom Holland in it. So that was gonna be my.
Oh, they were in that one movie with the tsunami or something.
Yes, it's called The Impossible.
Oh, okay. What's the movie with the I've never heard of the title of that movie. Anyways, that was 9 connections, guys. That's not too bad.
Not too bad for a person we only knew a couple movies with.
The other movie I was thinking was I Heart Huckabee with Mark Wahlberg.
Okay. I mean, I was really only thinking 2, King Kong and The Impossible.
I was just thinking King Kong, so if we were going anywhere else, we were screwed.
Was Samuel L. Jackson not in King Kong? I think I might be mixing up with...
Was he in the second one?
I think he was in that Skull Island one.
I know Colin Hanks was in King Kong, and that was like before I knew who he was.
Oh, so we could have gone Orange County.
Which is a sentence previously unsaid in history. All right, guys, it's time now for my favorite segment of the show, where we read our best bad reviews of the Boondock Saints. What do you guys got?
I'll go with a review from a dude named Miles Fielder. back in last year. Apparently, I just saw that all the way back in 2019.
Wow.
Feels like 5 fucking years ago.
He wrote the Boondock Saints has ended up a cheap-looking B movie that's pretentious, derivative, and sorely lacking a sense of fun. Um, honestly, I think the best thing about this movie is that it's just a fun movie to watch. It's not
Yeah.
so
Sounds like
like
he thought this was like a new movie in 2019.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're grading it against brand new movies, sure, I guess, but if you understand that it was 20 years before that review was written.
Right. Like, I feel like if you're going to write a review of a movie after its time, then you need to only do it on, like, IMDb where, like, people's votes don't matter. You know what I mean? Because how, to your point, how are you going to hold this movie to the standards of today's movie when it's 21 years old? It doesn't make sense.
I watched Wizard of Oz yesterday. You know what?
Terrible.
I don't know what they were thinking. Endgame was so much better.
The special effects sucked. There's no way that house is flying in a circle. I call bullshit. All right, Keenan, what you got?
All right. So I have Pablo Villica from Cinema en Cine, and he says, visualmente interesante. O filme se comporta. Oh, sorry. Forgot you guys don't speak Portuguese. I'll translate it for you. So it says, visually interesting, the film is corrupted by making an apology for justice with your own hands. Still, Defoe's performance deserves to be checked. Um, I mean, yeah, last part, you nailed it. Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe had, I mean, again, just spectacular. Uh, but this movie, the story is amazing, and I love it. I love at the end when they like have everybody arguing, like if the Saints are right or wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so realistic too. It's
Yeah,
like not everybody's gonna agree.
And and even funnier is like today that exact thing would still be happening.
100%.
You know, I'm something of a Willem Dafoe fan myself.
Bring me Spider-Man.
Sleeve spider.
So I, whenever I argue with people online, because you know we all do it, I made a meme and it's that scene from Spider-Man, and I crossed out the word scientist and I wrote fucking idiot, and I put that on people's posts when they're stupid. Um, anyway, my best bad review today comes from Alex Sandell of Juicy Cerebellum, which I've never heard of.
Sounds delicious.
Sounds like
It
Ron
it
Jeremy is a
sounds
part of it.
lovely. It also sounds like it'd be a sick band name. Just saying, Juicy Cerebellum, hell yeah. But Alex's review says it does the job, but doesn't do a very good job of it. Which I'm just gonna say, like, if I could have a personal review of my life, it would be this.
Nailed it.
Like
It's
you,
there.
there's like there's so much that this review could apply to in life. I don't know if this movie fits because I really liked it. I mean, I don't know if I'm using nostalgia as a key for liking this movie. I don't like. I can admit that it has its flaws, and the most of them to me are the use of the slurs, like both racial and um, homophobic slurs. I'm not cool with that these days. But aside from that, like it has a clear, concise plot. It's funny. It's enjoyable. It's got it all. I think. I don't know. Like, do you guys wrapping this up? Do you have any other complaints with this movie?
No, I mean honestly, not really. I it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
It's got my stamp of approval.
Only complaint I had is it's not longer.
that's true. if only there was a way to make a movie longer, or to create a second one of it or something.
Oh no, you guys waited too long.
Yeah, they did. They really did wait too long. I think the second one came out in like 2008 or 2009, which is like 10 years later. It's cool. They have one line in the second movie that like it gave me chills even watching it then. It's like they're in an elevator waiting for whatever gunfight they're about to be in. And one of them turns to the other one and says, "Are you ready for this shit, my dear brother?" And he says, "Let's do some gratuitous violence." And I was like, I wish that line was in the first one so I could quote it and not have to quote the second movie. But
I thought you were gonna say that
that's
there.
a dope quote. What's it from?
I know, right?
Boondock Saints.
Two. You're just like, yeah, it's from Boondock Saints. All Saints Day. What was that last part? Boondock Saints. All Saints Day.
I thought you were gonna say that there was a scene in the elevator when they're like about to do something, and then one of them says, I miss our buddy Rocco," and then the other one's like, "Yeah, I do too," and then that's when the Rocco ghost shows up and talks to them.
I thought you were gonna reference Endgame. Hail Hydra.
All right, guys. Well, I just want to leave you with some advice given to us by the great Il Duce. While he is a convicted felon who murdered more people than we can probably count, and maybe he didn't necessarily mean it in this context, it definitely still struck a chord. So, guys, in life, we may hit a wall. We may get stuck. But we may ask ourselves, how far do we need to go? How far do we need to push ourselves? And it's important to remember, the question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the constitution, the depth of faith, to go as far as is needed? Keep that in mind. And whether this is your first episode of Rotten Gems or your 10th, thanks for giving us a chance. Thanks for sticking with us on our quest to prove that movie critics need to, like Keenan said, make like a tree and get the fuck out of here. Join us next time when we talk about the classic Space Jam starring Michael Jordan and Wayne Knight. Until then, what do we say, fellas?
Let's have champagne for our real friends, real pain for our rotten friends.
Well said. Can that be like our Instagram bio or something? Hell yeah. That just gave me chills. I'm chilled. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
There was a firefight.